Good night. Happy New Year.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious, because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela.
We're back here watching the CBS Evening News. If you're just joining us, we're in a live conversation with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, just back from Joint Base Andrews, where he met some of the soldiers and sailors involved in that mission in Venezuela. Mr. Secretary, thank you for staying with us. I want to go back to the, to the rationale tonight. Is it about freedom or is it about oil? At the press conference today, President Trump seemed to indicate that both were a factor.
Freedom, security, prosperity. Of course, there are what was done by Venezuela against American oil interests, oil companies, is well understood and never should have happened. And President Trump is willing to recapture that. But it's also the security of our hemisphere. If people understood what Venezuela was trafficking in with other adversaries, weapons they were trafficking, and then, of course, the drugs and the cartels, the poisoning of the American people, the violence, Tren de Aragua that have been brought to our shores, all three of those combined together in this bold and courageous action from President Trump. He takes nothing off the table. So what happens next will be in the hands of Venezuelans to decide, but ultimately America will benefit security-wise and with prosperity, and we believe the Venezuelan people can as well.
You know, Mr. Secretary, today at the press conference, you said, and I'm going to say it slowly so I get it right, Maduro effed around and found out. And that's obviously a message not only to Maduro, but to many American adversaries around the world. And it comes on the heels of President Trump saying that U.S. intervention in Iran would be possible if Iran kills protesters. It comes as Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Cuba should possibly be worried tonight. What's next here? What's the message? Who did you have in mind when you said F around and find out globally?
Well, I referred also to the Iranians and their nuclear capabilities. The president said they will never get a nuclear bomb. The Iranians didn't believe it. He acted. He said the same thing about Maduro. He acted. He said the same thing with the Houthis. He acted. Southern border acted. We're going to do something about drugs. He's acting. We're acting with striking drug boats. This is a president of action. And you don't get peace in this dangerous world without strength. So there's been a lot of politicians that want to talk. They want to talk peace. They want to talk diplomacy. They want to talk negotiations. They want to talk globalism or international organizations. President Trump speaks through action. And so our allies understand that, and they're stepping up, spending more. Our adversaries understand that. So all around the world should take notice. American leadership is back. When he says something matters, it does. And we will take the necessary action with the full weight of the Department of War.
You know, Mr. Secretary, in the aftermath of this successful mission, there were tears of joy in Caracas, in Miami. Venezuelan refugees obviously thrilled to see Maduro out of power, his capture. You can understand why. They've got all that oil, and yet the country itself has skyrocketing prices. His own people have been starving. And yet a meaningful number of Americans would wake up to this news and they'd be ripped back 20 years to another American president, another U.S. intervention. I'm thinking of the war in Iraq. And that led to a significant loss of U.S. treasure and of U.S. blood. Many of the president's own supporters tonight are wondering, how is this time around going to be different, and how is it in the U.S. interest?
It's the exact opposite. I mean, we spent decades and decades and purchased in blood and got nothing economically in return. And President Trump flips the script. He says through strategic action, we can ensure that we have access to additional wealth and resources, enabling a country to unleash that without having to spend American blood. I mean, this was a bold and audacious move, but it was thought through. It was well orchestrated. Our military had time to set it up. He provided the resources, and then he took that bold stroke. And through it, we flipped that very dynamic. And Americans will benefit. Venezuela has a long history of being a rich and prosperous country. It's been stolen away from its people by horrific leadership. We can do both, help them and help the United States in the Western Hemisphere by reestablishing the Monroe Doctrine. Peace through strength with our allies was demonstrated last night. And I think I know the hemisphere will benefit from President Trump's bold action.
All right, Mr. Secretary, we're going to ask you to hold there for one more commercial break. We're going to fit it in now to our viewers. You're watching the CBS Evening News. We'll be back in just a moment with one final question for Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Stay with us.
We've had an unbelievable success, and by degrading Iran, which was a first-rate power, now it's a second-rate or third-rate power. They were throwing their weight all over the place, exporting terrorism, not only to every part of the Middle East, but to Venezuela. They're in cahoots with the Maduro regime, you know. They're exporting terrorism to America, to the American hemisphere, and then they want these Hezbollah and Hamas to get their guys into the United States. So Hamas and Iran's and its proxies are a threat not only to us, but to Israel, all America's allies in the Middle East, and to America itself.
I want us to really take a moment and dissect what took place this morning in Venezuela. What interest do American citizens have in a regime change in a foreign nation when the United States is in need of liberation from a corrupt deep state government? What interest do we have in Venezuela? Besides oil and the interest of a Zionist-controlled government. Because that's what we're all currently living under. This has nothing to do with drugs being manufactured and transported into the United States from Venezuela. 95%, if not more, of the drugs that come into the United States come from Mexico. How do I know this? Because friends I used to have that used to push large amounts of dope used to get their drugs from the cartel. Nothing ever came in from Venezuela. It all came from Mexico. So besides the fact that President Trump is lying to us yet again, trying to make it seem like our operation in Venezuela was to stop the flow of fentanyl, when the true problem of fentanyl is actually from China. I don't know if you guys know, but Chinese have been sent into Mexico for over a decade now, teaching Mexican drug cartels how to properly manufacture and cook fentanyl. You can be pro-Trump and pro-military industrial complex and pro-regime change all you want to, but you're really just chanting on your own demise. Venezuela is not the only country in South America that's gonna have a regime change. And you can bookmark this video. Colombia is next. And they're gonna try to blame the manufacturing of cocaine that comes from Colombia, when the real reason of regime change in Colombia is gonna have everything to do with the fact that they want a region that is dominated by Zionists. When you have members of the Rothschild family congratulating you for a successful mission of regime change, just like they did with President Trump this morning, that should tell you everything you need to know. Because that Zionist family is in control of all of the money flow and assets in this entire world.
So how do you think that the citizens of Venezuela feel knowing that they're going to be slaves for the state of Israel and that their future president is going to sell off the wealth of their entire nation to line the pockets of some elite globalists, some foreigners, some American corporations, and that they're going to become tax slaves like Americans are tax slaves to the foreign nation state of Israel? How much money and wealth do you think Israel is going to reap, and how many benefits while the Venezuelan citizens get shit on? And they're going to sell off all of the best real estate in the entire country to foreigners. So buckle up, Venezuela. You're about to get Well, the Royal American treatment, the American dream is yours. Maybe these are going to be the new tax slaves for Israel, so we don't have to be the tax slaves for Israel. Maybe that's why. I don't know. I'm asking for a friend. So Ben Norton, he's a journalist over at the Gray Zone, Off the Hook, one of my favorite companies to follow, or corporation news outlets to actually follow. And he says, Maria Corina Machado, the far-right U.S.-backed Venezuelan coup leader who won the Nobel Peace Prize, promised a massive privatization if Trump could put her into power. Trump could put her into power. Don't you think that the citizens in Venezuela would have an election and elect the leader that they want in power? That would just be, I thought that's what democracy is. Maybe I'm wrong. She vowed to sell off $1.7 trillion of Venezuelans' oil, gas, gold, infrastructure, and etc. to U.S. corporations. Probably won't see this on the mainstream media. Check this out.
And this is amazing, super exciting for me. We will open Venezuela for foreign investment. I am talking about a $1.7 trillion opportunity, not only in oil and gas, which is huge, and you know that the opportunities, because we will open all upstream, middle stream, downstream to all companies, but also in mining, in gold, in infrastructure, power. We have our grid right now has a 17 gigawatt opportunity of energy potential that needs to be rehabbed. Certainly for technology and AI and tourism. You know, Venezuela has 2,800 kilometers of pristine Caribbean coastline ready to be developed. So this is going to be huge. We will bring rule of law. We will open markets. We will have security for foreign investment and a transparent, massive privatization program that is waiting for you.
Oh, and just in case you were wondering,
I would like to thank Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
I promise we one day will have a close relationship between Venezuela and Israel.
I myself look forward to visit the State of Israel as soon as we conquer freedom. We will prevail.
And I can announce this, that our government will move our Israeli embassy to Jerusalem.
Of course, the countries, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, with Russia relationships. Why this region matters, with all of its rich resources and rare earth elements. You've got the lithium triangle, which is needed for technology today. 60% of the world's lithium is in the lithium triangle, Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. You just have the largest oil reserves, light sweet crude, discovered off of Guyana over a year ago. You have Venezuela's resources as well, with oil, copper, gold. We have the Amazon, lungs of the world. We have the 31% of the world's fresh water in this region too. I mean, it's just off the charts. We have a lot to do. This region matters. It has a lot to do with national security, and we need to step up our game.
You know, it's honestly crazy what MAGA has become. And I'm all for people having different political opinions. I don't want to exist in a cult. You know, people are going to have different opinions than I have, and they're going to have different policies that they support, and they're going to have different things that they want to see done and different ways of getting them done. This is normal. We should all have different ideas, and we should be hearing different ideas. But to watch whatever it is now, formerly known as MAGA, the Trump base, turn into just slop-eating sheeple is really incredible. And if you're evaluating this from a psychological perspective, there is probably no greater testament to this being the case than what we're seeing today. This is a regime change war. This is a special interest regime change war for the oil companies. This is a foreign interest regime change war for Israel. That's what this is. And so if you support that, then that's fine. You have every right as an American to express that opinion and to support that policy from Donald Trump. But don't kid yourselves. Don't become dishonest and people that are lost in a world that doesn't exist. Oh, Trump defeated communism. No, he didn't. Did we end the welfare state? Did we stop all the foreign aid? Are we going to invade China next? This was not about communism. Stop it. Oh, he's stopping the drugs. He's stopping the killer drugs. The CIA runs the narco game. Big Pharma, the COVID-19 vaccines, where are the drugs coming from? They're coming from Mexico. Oh, it's about ending the drugs. Stop it. Just admit what it is. And if you support it, then that's fine. But see, the fact that they can't be honest about what it is, that's the psychological tell. They are in denial. They know they've been deceived. They know this is not what they voted for. They know this is everything that Trump stood against. And here we are again today. And you know what you have in the streets? Foreign flags. Foreign flags in the streets. When do Americans get their day to celebrate? When do we arrest the deep state? When do we arrest all of the Epstein clients? When do we arrest all the billionaire elite pedophiles? When do we drain the swamp? When do we arrest the people that facilitated the border invasion? When do we arrest the people that put innocent Americans in prison for speech? When do we arrest the American criminals? Or does MAGA not stand for that anymore?